Peace and blessings, peace and blessings. Welcome to another episode of the Prolific Perspective Podcast.
Filthy.
Today we're going to be talking about the topic of funding and just sharing different ways for new beginning business owners, new entrepreneurs to kind of leverage personal credit in order to get access to funding to build and create, a business that's going to be sustainable for long-term success. And for me personally, one of the things that I think a lot of people may know or may not know is the ability and the power in leveraging personal credit. Like, for example, for most people, if you have a business, the banks don't want to lend to new business owners, depending on how your personal credit is set up, as well as how you structure your business. However, there's also a lot of different alternative different ways that you can kind of still leverage your personal credit to get 100,000 at least in capital to start up with your business. And so one of the things that I wanted to kind of share with you all this week was the importance of a credit profile. I think a lot of us, we know about a credit score. A lot of us know that having a good credit score is beneficial in terms of getting approved for loans, for cars, for what lines of credit, etc. However, I don't think a lot of people know the benefits or the difference between a strong credit score and a strong credit profile. So, for example, the ideal typical profile that a lot of lenders look for, or what they look at, when they look at our credit report, is they want to see it's about 6 different components. They want to see, number one, the payment history. They want to see 100% of the payment history on your credit profile. The second thing they want to see is your credit utilization. I know it's been a long-term or long-standing kind of rule of thumb that you want to have a credit utilization of under 30%. And that's true primarily depending on what type of funding that you're going to apply for. But if you're looking to get maximized funding and maximize funding opportunities, you want to try to ideally keep your credit utilization under 10% in terms of when you're going for funding, especially if you're trying to maximize your personal credit to leverage that for business, for your business startup or for business funding. And so keeping it under 10% is showing the lenders that you have a lot more responsibility and that you're capable of paying back whatever lines of credit that they offer or extend to you. The next component would be derogatory marks. A lot of lenders, all lenders pretty much don't want to see any derogatory marks, whether it's late payments, missed payments, bankruptcies, if it's child support, etc. Any negative derogatory remarks on your credit profile will kind of flag lenders from giving you the maximum opportunity in terms of funding and lending. The next thing would be your age of your credit profile. Like the primary, I think, area or sweet spot that you want to be is at least 5 years old in terms of how old your total body of your credit profile is. So when you have at least 5 years, that puts you in that category to when you can kind of get what we call max funding in the entrepreneurship business space. The next one is the total accounts. You want to have at least 10 positive accounts on your credit profile. You want to have a mix, whether it's car loans, student loans, mortgages, credit cards. You want to have a nice mix and balance between, the different types and tiers of lines of credit and loans on your profile. And when you have that and you get to that 10 credit lines of credit or 10 positive accounts on your profile, that kind of puts you in that threshold to be able to get what we call the maximum amounts of funding. And then the next one you want to do is you want to make sure that you have minimal 0 to 2 ideally on inquiries, because lenders, if they see a lot of inquiries, they're going to think that you've been shopping around for a lot of funding or a lot of money, and they kind of look at you as being someone who's risky. And so for those who don't have that total of 10, there's a lot of different ways and a lot of different sites and apps that you can go on to kind of build up that credit profile to set yourself up for what we consider to be a maximum fundable profile. And so now with the scores, ideally, I feel like if you have a 720 and you have a strong profile, you should be able to get on the low end 100K or better, high end anywhere from a quarter mil to half a mil in terms of funding for your business, if you know how to go about it with a strategic plan of action and doing what something that we call a sequence. And so with the funding sequence, you want to hit multiple banks, multiple credit unions, and multiple lenders, and you want to do it in a very strategic manner, that in which you can maximize the opportunity for the funding that you can get to either start or scale your business. And so one of the things that I've realized since I've kind of been in this space is you want to build relationships with banks, and banks who have the ability and capability to give you what we consider maximum funding. One of the banks that I highly recommend it's a credit union, and you have to kind of know someone to get into it, or there's different ways that you can kind of figure out creatively to get into this particular credit union. But it's Navy Federal. Navy Federal is a credit union who I'm not sure if they're all over the country, but I know they're definitely in the Southeast. But they have a high reputation of giving out very high limits on credit cards. Most people, if you have a credit profile that matches the one that I explained, you're going to get at least 25K to 30K just on one credit card. Now they have two big credit cards that they offer. They offer the Navy Federal Cash Rewards card. I believe that most of the time starts people out at about 25 to 30K with a strong credit profile. They also have the Visa Signature, which you can also get for about 25K to start out with that business. Ideally, I wouldn't recommend going for both cards. I would go for one if your credit profile meets this criteria, because they will deny that second one. But if you get the first one and get approved, I would say give or take, wait about 6 months to a year before applying to get the second one. The next bank that I highly recommend is Truist. Truist is a bank that gives out large limit credit cards as well, and they have cash reward cards as well. They start typically at about 15K, depending on if you meet that criteria for the credit profile in which we discussed. But they also, if you have a business already and you're established, Truist also gives out 20K credit cards to start out their business accounts or business clients in order to kind of help them to grow and scale their businesses as well. One of them that's a sleeper, I'm gonna tell you that a lot of people don't know about, is PayPal. PayPal has a MasterCard that benefits people who have a good, strong credit profile, where they'll give you at least 20K if you meet that threshold with that 720, 750 or better strong credit profile. And that's on the personal side. But if you just so happen to have a business as well, you can double back and hit them for, I believe most people are getting about 25K for the PayPal MasterCard on the business side. So you're talking about now, that's a total of 45K that you can get from one lender, which is PayPal. The next one I'm gonna say is a credit union that a lot of people don't know about, but if you want to look into them, I highly would recommend it's Alliant, because Alliant is very generous with their limits on their credit cards, which they start people out with about 15K, depending on how strong your credit profile is. But you can also apply to get a loan from them, a personal loan as well, to kind of put into funding your business if that's what you want to do in terms of getting as much capital as you possibly can. The other one that I would recommend is Wells Fargo. If you have that same matching criteria with your credit profile, you can check out Wells Fargo. They're giving out about 12 and a half K on their credit cards as well, cash rewards credit cards as well, and that's on the personal side. So just in these five banks right here alone, if you meet the criteria with that profile, you're easily going to be able to get on the low end 100, 110K. High end, you might mess around and get 125, 150. And then there's several other lenders out there, several other banks out there that lend big limit cards on the personal and the business side. So if you're trying to start your business or scale your business, but you're having problems, with getting extra capital, one tool that you can use is leveraging your personal credit to then put the money and put the credit to work for you in your business. And that way you can kind of invest in yourself without having to worry about being at the mercy of getting small business loans or getting traditional funding for your business. There's always alternatives. There's always other ways out there to get capital to grow and scale your business. So I wanted to kind of share that out there and drop that for this week's episode of the Prolific Perspective podcast. We got several more shows in the making like this, where I'm gonna share a lot of information and a lot of sauce about how to get capital and how to get funding. I'm working with several different organizations here in my local city, and we're working on putting together a lot of different events, a lot of different workshops, trainings, etc., so we can kind of really get this information out to the people who need it the most, which is the small minority business owners. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for checking out this episode of the Prolific Perspective podcast. I'll also share a link into the comment section for a link to all of these lenders and these banks, as well as to my firm, if you want to get a consultation to find out more in depth how you can get access to a lot more capital and a lot more funding to help you to either start or scale your business. Please hit us up at the website at www.prolificconsultingfirm.com. And I also have all of the links in the comments section of this video. Once again, I appreciate all the love and support. I appreciate everybody for tuning in, for sharing. And if I could, please get you to like, subscribe, and share this video and the channel. I definitely greatly appreciate y'all. So this has been another episode of the Prolific Perspectives podcast. I'm your host, Andre Polite. I appreciate you tuning in. We out. Thanks. Peace.